Part 1. The Agony of the Crunch and the Final Line of Code. In the heart of modern Tokyo, long past midnight, the office floor of a major video game development studio remains bathed in the harsh, sterile glow of fluorescent lighting. Among the rows of deserted desks sits 29-year-old programmer Ichirou Suzuki, completely buried beneath an avalanche of urgent tasks. He is currently enduring what the development industry notoriously calls a death march, a grueling, uninterrupted marathon of overtime, where sleep is an unattainable luxury, and the line between day and night ceases to exist. Ichirou has been awake for over 30 hours straight, single-handedly maintaining and debugging two entirely separate fantasy mobile MMORPGs set to launch simultaneously. His workstation is a chaotic landscape of empty energy drink cans, half-eaten convenience store snacks, and endless printouts of algorithmic damage formulas. Despite the overwhelming exhaustion numbing his limbs, Ichirou remains remarkably calm and patient. When an anxious junior coworker approaches him on the verge of tears over a catastrophic server bug, Ichirou softly reassures him, taking the time to review the code line by line and explaining the emergency beginner assist mechanics he embedded into the game engine. Most notably, a simple map-wide trump card spell intended to give struggling new players a fighting chance against overwhelming odds. Needing a brief respite from the dry office air, Ichirou steps outside into the bright afternoon sunlight to purchase a simple boxed bento lunch. While resting on a bench in a nearby public park, his quiet meal is interrupted by the soft sobbing of a lost little girl with dark pigtails. Without a moment's hesitation, Ichirou sets his lunch aside, kneels down to eye level with a warm, reassuring smile, and pulls out his smartphone. Checking the digital navigation map, he gently takes the frightened child by the hand and guides her through the city streets until she is safely returned to the arms of her weeping mother. Returning to the office as darkness settles over the city, the sheer physical toll of his endless schedule finally crushes him. Leaning his forehead against the cool wooden surface of his desk, Ichirou whispers to himself that he will only close his eyes for a short 30-minute nap before finishing the final batch of code. But as his consciousness drifts into deep, heavy darkness, the boundaries of the digital world and reality dissolve around him into a shimmering void of light. Part 2. The Cataclysmic Awakening and the Birth of a God. When Ichirou's senses gradually return, the stuffy hum of office computers and the aroma of stale coffee are gone, replaced by the howling of a dry mountain gale and the sharp scent of scorched mineral dust. Opening his eyes, he finds himself standing beneath a vast, alien twilight sky painted in shades of deep indigo and violet, surrounded by towering sandstone canyon walls that stretch endlessly into the horizon. Looking down at his arms and clothing, a wave of disorientation hits him. His adult, overworked body has completely transformed. He is now in the physical form of his 15-year-old teenage self, dressed in a simple traveler's tunic and cloth trousers. Floating seamlessly in the upper periphery of his visual interface is a fully functioning high-tech graphical user interface, identical to the debug HUD of the games he was programming. A crisp status bar displays the name Satou, listing his current condition as level 1 with basic non-existent stats. Beside it rests an interactive tactical minimap, an expandable multi-slot dimensional inventory, and an active radar system. Before Satou can even begin to rationalize whether he is experiencing a hyper-vivid lucid dream or has been physically transported into a living fantasy realm, his minimap violently flashes crimson. Over the jagged ridges of the surrounding canyon, an entire military legion of high-level lizardmen warriors descends upon the valley floor. Numbering in the hundreds, these draconic beasts stand over 7 feet tall, draped in ornate obsidian plate armor and brandishing jagged iron spears, their draconic eyes locked on the defenseless teenager with unbridled bloodlust. With zero physical combat training in this frail young body and nowhere to run, Satou faces instant death. In a flash of survival instinct, his gaze darts to the corner of his visual interface, where the debug beginner assist icons are glowing. Assigned to 3 simple menu buttons is the ultimate apocalyptic magic, Meteor Rain. Desperate to protect himself, Satou taps the first icon. High above, the atmospheric clouds tear open with a deafening roar as 3 colossal burning meteors breach the stratosphere at blinding speed. The impact is catastrophic beyond imagination. The Earth convulses as blinding pillars of white-hot plasma and explosive shockwaves vaporize the canyon walls, turning the entire valley floor into an ocean of boiling volcanic slag and instantly obliterating the lizardman vanguard into cosmic ash. To ensure his survival against the secondary waves flanking the ridges, Satou activates the remaining charges, unleashing a relentless celestial bombardment that reshapes the entire geographical map for dozens of miles. When the blinding smoke and fiery embers finally clear, a deafening symphony of system chime notifications floods Satou's hearing. Defeating hundreds of high-ranking draconic warriors, along with ancient legendary dragon entities concealed beneath the mountain range, triggers an unprecedented avalanche of experience points. In the span of several seconds, Satou's level explodes upward, leaping from level 1 straight past level 300, finally stabilizing at an unbelievable level 310. His status screen overflows with millions of unassigned skill points, godlike physical and magical attributes, and an inventory stuffed to capacity with legendary dragon scales, divine beast cores, and hundreds of millions of gold and silver coins. His title registry fills with world-altering accolades, including Godslayer, Dragonslayer, and True Hero. Staring in stunned silence at the smoldering glass-fused crater before him, Satou takes a slow, steady breath and makes a solemn vow. He will completely conceal his terrifying godlike omnipotence, disguise his status under an ordinary level 1 merchant facade, and dedicate this second chance at life to living peacefully as a carefree tourist exploring the beauty of this new world. Part 3: The Falling Night and the Crimson Sky. Equipping a modest traveler's cloak from his dimensional inventory to hide his clothing, Satou sets out across the rugged Badlands, utilizing his maxed-out map search skill to scan the territory for signs of human civilization. The terrain is harsh and unforgiving, but with his physical stats elevated to superhuman heights, he moves across the rocky plateaus with effortless feather-light speed. Suddenly, his radar detects multiple friendly life signatures in severe distress along the edge of a jagged limestone cliff several miles away. Moving swiftly to the vantage point, Satou observes a life-and-death battle taking place below. A squad of Kingdom Frontier Guards, accompanied by a young female magic soldier with pale green hair, styled in delicate braids, has been ambushed by a ferocious wild wyvern. The dragon beast unleashes a terrifying dive attack, its massive, leathery wings generating gale-force shockwaves that scatter the frontline spearmen and knock the young female mage off her feet. In a desperate bid to protect her wounded subordinates, the girl channels her wind magic, but the wyvern's heavy tail swipe breaks through her barrier, launching her directly over the edge of the sheer precipice into a fatal freefall toward the jagged boulders below. Reacting entirely on instinct, Satou allocates a small handful of his millions of skill points into throwing, trajectory calculation, and physical reinforcement. Snatching a small, smooth pebble from the ground, he infuses the stone with a microburst of kinetic mana and flicks it toward the sky. The pebble shoots forward with the speed and destructive power of a high-caliber anti-materiel shell, piercing clean through the wyvern's armored skull in mid-dive and killing the dragon beast instantly. Without pausing to admire his shot, Satou leaps off the cliff face. Activating his aerial movement skills, he glides through the rushing winds with graceful precision, catching the falling green-haired girl securely in his arms mid-air. With a gentle twist of his body, he cancels their downward momentum, landing softly upon a thick, outstretched tree branch before stepping down safely to the solid ground below. The young soldier introduces herself as Zena Marientail, an officer of the Seiryuu territorial garrison. Dazed, breathless, and blushing fiercely from the sudden, impossibly gentle rescue, Zena looks into the calm, dark eyes of the mysterious young traveler with immense gratitude. Her surviving squad mates quickly rush down the cliff path, completely dumbfounded that a slender, unarmed boy managed to fell a high-threat wyvern with nothing more than a tossed rock. Satou politely bows and brushes aside their praise, claiming it was merely a miraculous stroke of luck, where the pebble struck a pre-existing soft spot on the monster's head. Charmed by his modesty and gentlemanly demeanor, Zena warmly invites Satou to ride along with her unit in their armored military transport carriage toward the safety and comfort of Seiryuu City. Part 4: The Gates of Seiryuu and the Scent of Everyday Life. The journey towards Seiryuu City provides Satou with his first true look at the daily realities of this fantasy kingdom. As the carriage rolls smoothly along the packed dirt highway, Satou gazes out at the sprawling emerald pastures, distant wooden mill towers, and massive stone aqueducts stretching beneath a picturesque, cloudless sky. Satou discreetly manipulates his user interface, cataloging regional plant life, livestock varieties, and local customs while engaging in lighthearted banter with the guards. Soon, the majestic outer fortifications of Seiryuu City rise into view. Towering limestone battlements reinforced with iron gates and defensive ballista towers. Due to strict kingdom regulations regarding border control and monster incursions, all incoming travelers must submit to rigorous identity and status appraisals. Thanks to Zena's enthusiastic official recommendation and his own flawless, polite paperwork, Satou passes the security checkpoint without raising suspicion, his true status successfully masked behind a harmless merchant identity. He is presented with an official wooden entry plate, granting him full legal freedom to trade, lodge, and explore within the city walls. Parting ways with Zena as she returns to the military barracks to report the wyvern incident, Satou heads straight for the lower trade district to secure lodging. Following the glowing navigation markers on his minimap, he arrives at the Gate Inn, a charming multi-storied timber establishment run by an energetic, kind-hearted girl named Martha and her warm, motherly parent. Satou rents a quiet second-floor room and orders a warm evening meal in the inn's common dining hall. When Martha sets down a steaming wooden bowl of thick vegetable stew alongside a loaf of dark, freshly baked crusty bread, Satou takes his first bite with immense curiosity. To his genuine delight, the rich, earthy flavors of the stew, seasoned with wild herbs and slow-simmered root vegetables, completely surpass the artificial, mass-produced convenience store meals of his former life. It is a simple, honest meal that warms him to his very core. Eager to immerse himself in the local culture, Satou spends the remaining daylight hours walking through the bustling central marketplace. The stone-paved streets are a sensory marvel, teeming with fruit vendors, spice merchants, traveling bards, and craftsmen demonstrating their trades. Satou uses his appraisal skills to memorize the prices of commodities, the value of various currencies, and the origins of rare magical ores. However, beneath the vibrant, cheerful atmosphere of the market, the harsh, unforgiving social realities of this world soon make themselves known. In a damp, shadowed alleyway near the slave market stalls, Satou witnesses a cruel merchant verbally abusing and striking 3 young demi-human children, bound in heavy iron neck collars. Lisa, an orange-scaled lizardkin girl with a stoic, protective gaze, along with Pochi, a timid dogkin child, and Tama, a gentle, cat-eared girl. Beside them, 2 human slave girls, a sprightly girl with vibrant violet hair named Elisa, and her quiet, extraordinarily beautiful companion Lulu, sit in resigned silence. Satou feels a sharp, heavy ache in his chest at the sight of such cruelty. Recognizing that an overt, violent intervention would violate the kingdom's laws and blow his cover, he chooses a gentler approach. Approaching the stall under the pretense of browsing, he purchases several warm, freshly roasted meat skewers and quietly hands them to the starving demi-human children, watching their tear-filled eyes light up with pure gratitude. He resolves then and there that he will find a legal, permanent way to free them from their suffering. Part 5. The Sunlight Promenade and the Ancient Cathedral. The following morning brings radiant blue skies and a refreshing mountain breeze to Seiryuu City. Having finished her mandatory military reports, Zena meets Satou in the central promenade for a promised personal tour of the metropolis. Dressed in a charming civilian blouse and skirt rather than her heavy steel armor, Zena is visibly flustered and overjoyed to spend her day off with her quiet savior. Together, they stroll through the artisan avenues, sampling sweet fried pastries dusted with honey, admiring delicate blown glass ornaments, and exchanging light-hearted stories about their daily routines. Satou listens with genuine fascination as Zena explains the complex social structure of the kingdom, discussing the friction between regional feudal lords, the military, and the deep-seated prejudice that ordinary humans hold against beastfolk and demi-humans. Their walk eventually leads them up a grand flight of marble steps towards the magnificent holy cathedral of the dragon god. Inside the cavernous sanctuary, soft rays of colored sunlight filter through intricate stained glass windows, illuminating towering alabaster statues of ancient deities and legendary knights. The air is thick with the soothing scent of burning sacred incense and the faint rhythmic chanting of cloistered priestesses. Later that evening, inside a private second-floor room at the inn, the violet-haired girl Elisa asks to speak with Satou in complete privacy. Closing and locking the heavy wooden door behind her, she stares intensely at Satou before suddenly speaking in flawless, modern conversational Japanese. Seeing Satou's momentary flicker of surprise, Elisa breaks down into uncontrollable sobs of overwhelming relief. She confesses her hidden reality. In her previous life, she was an ordinary Japanese high school girl who tragically succumbed to a terminal illness. She was reincarnated into this fantasy realm as a royal princess of a minor kingdom, gifted with rare psychic and mind manipulation cheat skills. However, her kingdom was violently overthrown by a neighboring empire, resulting in her family's downfall and her subsequent sale into slavery alongside her quiet, deeply insecure stepsister Lulu. Because of her high-level appraisal and mind-reading skills, Elisa had instantly seen through Satou's level 1 disguise, recognizing that his soul possessed the immense, tranquil aura of a fellow modern Japanese reincarnator with godlike strength. Satou gently sits beside the crying girl, patting her head and promising that neither she nor Lulu will ever have to suffer hunger, fear, or humiliation again. To provide his new family with a safe, luxurious sanctuary, Satou uses a fraction of his fortune to purchase a grand, private walled estate located in the upper district of Seiryuu City. He takes all 5 girls on an extensive shopping spree through the finest merchant halls, purchasing soft cotton undergarments, elegant silk dresses, custom-tailored leather armor, plush feather bedding, and vast quantities of high-end cooking ingredients. For the first time in their lives, Liza, Pochi, Tama, Lulu, and Elisa sleep in pure comfort, safe within the warm walls of a home filled with love and respect. Part 9. The Insect Incursion and the Slumbering High Elf. Domestic life in the new mansion quickly becomes a joyful, peaceful routine. Lulu blossoms as an exceptional home cook, learning modern culinary techniques from Satou, while Elisa studies ancient spellbooks, and the 3 demi-human girls train rigorously in the courtyard. However, peace in Seiryuu City is abruptly interrupted several weeks later when deep, rhythmic alarm bells echo from the city watchtowers. A massive subterranean colony of giant worker and soldier ants have tunneled beneath the outer defensive perimeter, swarming into the lower warehouse districts and threatening to overwhelm the garrison. As screams echo through the streets, the territorial military, led by Zena's platoon, deploys to establish a defensive barricade along the main thoroughfares. Satou moves quickly, placing his estate under a powerful defensive barrier and leading his combat-ready companions to secure the civilian evacuation routes.
While scanning the city with his high-altitude radar map, Satou notices an unusual magical anomaly. Hidden within an abandoned cellar beneath a ruined warehouse, a faint, pure life signature is rapidly fading under the assault of multiple high-threat insect beasts. Leaving Liza, Elisa, Tama, and Pochi to hold the street perimeter with their refined teamwork, Satou blinks into the shadows and infiltrates the underground chamber. Inside, pinned to the stone floor by encroaching soldier ants, lies a breathtakingly delicate young girl with long, emerald green hair and graceful elven ears. Mia, a high elf princess from the legendary Bolanen forest. She has been kidnapped by a rogue syndicate of black market poachers and administered a lethal, slow-acting alchemical poison designed to paralyze her magical spirit communion. Satou obliterates the attacking giant ant with silent, instantaneous force magic, severing Mia's bindings with a gentle flick of his blade. Appraising her poisoned bloodstream, Satou rapidly pulls rare alchemical ingredients from his dimensional inventory and synthesizes a flawless, high-grade universal panacea on the spot. Kneeling beside the shivering elf child, he gently lifts her head, feeds her the glowing curative elixir, and channels a warm flow of purifying recovery mana through her chest. As the dark poison dissolves from her veins, Mia slowly opens her large, luminous emerald eyes, gazing up at her calm, dark-haired savior with silent, overwhelming adoration. Satou wraps her fragile body in a warm traveling cloak and carries her out of the ruined cellar, returning to his mansion where the rest of his companions welcome the exhausted, rescued elf princess with unconditional tenderness and care. Part 10: The Grand Wagon Caravan and the Open Road. After several days of rest and nourishing home-cooked meals, Mia's strength returns. In her soft, quiet voice, she expresses her deep longing to return to her ancestral homeland, the sacred cradle tree within the distant Bolanen forest. Recognizing that dangerous factions and poachers will continue to hunt the rare elf child as long as she remains near human settlements, Satou makes the executive decision to depart Seiryuu City and embark on an expansive, long-distance continental journey. Satou spares no expense in outfitting the ultimate traveling vehicle. He purchases a massive, heavy-duty wooden wagon crafted from reinforced ironwood and pairs it with two magnificent, well-trained draft horses. Working late into the night while the girls sleep, Satou applies his master-tier crafting, engineering, and enchanting skills to completely overhaul the wagon. He installs concealed kinetic leaf springs to absorb all road turbulence, embeds elemental magic stones into the cabin walls, expands the interior dimensions with subtle spatial magic to create comfortable sleeping berths, and builds an integrated, fully functional mobile kitchen unit. The morning of their departure is a bittersweet, emotional event. Zena meets Satou at the outer gates, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. Though deeply saddened by his departure, she smiles brightly, thanking him for changing her life and promising to train endlessly so that she may one day travel alongside him as a true protector. With Lulu proudly sitting in the driver's seat holding the reins, Satou seated at her side, and the girls waving cheerfully from the rear canopy, the grand wagon rolls through the city gates out onto the sun-drenched highway. Life on the road becomes an idyllic, joyful adventure. Every evening, Satou locates a scenic clearing near a freshwater stream and casts a powerful, invisible, monster-repelling barrier around their campsite. While Pochi and Tama enthusiastically hunt wild boar and fowl in the surrounding meadows, Liza expertly skins and butchers the game with surgical precision. Around the crackling campfire, Satou prepares lavish multi-course feasts, crispy fried cutlets, savory herb-roasted meats, freshly baked rolls, and rich potato chowders. As the stars illuminate the vast night sky, Elisa practices advanced spatial geometry, Lulu happily washes the wooden dinnerware, and Mia plays hauntingly beautiful melodies on a custom wooden flute crafted by Satou, filling the wilderness with warmth, laughter, and music.
Part 11: The Ancient Celestial Charts and the Tragedy of Zen. Following ancient celestial charts and elven waypoints, the caravan eventually arrives at the base of a mythical, awe-inspiring landmark, the Cradle. This colossal, ancient fortress of white stone and glass floats suspended in the sky,
tethered to the earth by the massive, petrified roots of an ancient Titan world tree. The floating citadel is saturated with forgotten biomechanical laboratories, dormant magical automatons, and ancient defense grids. Ascending the spiraling root staircases into the heart of the fortress, the party is suddenly ambushed by a squad of identical, highly agile combat androids known as the Homunculus Maidens. Clad in matching burgundy battle maiden uniforms and wielding massive enchanted broadswords and impenetrable energy shields, the artificial maidens attack with cold, flawless synchronization under the direct telepathic command of their master, Zen, the immortal undead archmage. Using his appraisal interface, Satou uncovers the heart-wrenching tragedy behind the fortress. Centuries ago, Zen was a celebrated human hero who saved the realm, only to be betrayed, framed, and brutally tortured by corrupt feudal lords and religious fanatics who murdered his pregnant wife before his eyes. Cursed with absolute physical immortality, Zen lost his sanity to centuries of grief and isolation, retreating into the cradle to create synthetic life in a desperate attempt to resurrect his lost family, while secretly plotting an apocalyptic plague to cleanse the corrupted surface world. Determined to save both the synthetic maidens and grant the suffering archmage peace, Satou enters the central throne chamber alone. Moving with blinding, godly speed, he systematically disarms the fortress's defense golems and neutralizes the homunculus battle maidens with non-lethal precision strikes. Standing before the skeletal, despairing form of Zen, Satou does not strike in anger. Instead, he listens with quiet, profound respect to the Archmage's centuries of sorrow, granting Zen his ultimate wish, an honorable, painless release from his immortal torment through a blazing pillar of purifying celestial light. With Zen's passing, the Cradle's ancient self-destruct mechanism triggers, causing the floating white fortress to shudder and crumble. Racing through the collapsing corridors, Satou reaches the synthetic incubation chambers and rescues Homunculus number 7, a stunning silver-haired girl with a pure, innocent heart, along with her slumbering sisters, transporting the entire group safely down to the meadow below. Just as the ancient ruins collapse into dust, Satou gently takes number 7's hand. He gives her the individual name Nana and warmly welcomes her into his family, providing the newborn soul with a life filled with purpose, freedom, and unconditional love. Part 12. The Afflicted Ratkin Beastfolk and the Miracle of Alchemy. With Nana now happily serving as the wagon's towering, affectionate shield-bearer and devoted protector of the younger girls, the caravan continues its journey through the rugged western borderlands. While traversing a dense, golden-leafed autumn forest, Satou's radar interface detects a hidden, secluded subterranean settlement belonging to the Ratkin Beastfolk clan. Upon investigating the village, Satou and his companions discover a scene of quiet devastation. An aggressive, magical waterborne plague has infected the tribe's underground reservoir, leaving dozens of elder villagers and frail children bedridden with violent fevers, respiratory failure, and agonizing magical sores. The village chieftain, terrified and deeply suspicious of human travelers due to a long history of human poachers and slavers exploiting beastfolk, brandishes crude stone spears to defend his suffering community. Satou steps forward with open, empty hands and a serene, non-threatening smile, immediately defusing the chieftain's hostility with his calm, respectful tone. Activating his advanced medical diagnosis skill, Satou quickly isolates the magical pathogen contaminating the tribe's biology. Without wasting a single second, Satou deploys his portable alchemy cauldron in the center of the village square. Drawing upon his vast inventory of rare medicinal herbs, purifying crystals, and consecrated spring water, he brews large batches of a high-tier panacea elixir. He casts a powerful purification vortex over the contaminated water well, permanently eradicating the source of the plague, before moving from hout to hout, personally administering the glowing medicine to every sick villager. The results are nothing short of miraculous. Within a few short hours, the virulent fevers vanish, healthy color returns to the pale faces of the dying children, and the entire underground cavern fills with overwhelming tears of joy and relief. Deeply humbled by the selfless generosity of a human who asked for nothing in return, the Ratkin chieftain falls to his knees before Satou, presenting him with a sacred tribal talisman and a consecrated spirit bell that marks Satou and his companions as eternal, honored allies of the beastfolk tribes. Part 13. The Duchy Capital and the Shadow Vigilante. Crossing the majestic mountain passes, the caravan finally arrives at the towering outer walls of the Grand Duchy Capital, a thriving, cosmopolitan center of magical learning, grand alchemical guilds, and sprawling noble estates. Satou registers his party with the local merchant guild, trading high-tier monster pelts and rare raw ores, while discreetly visiting ancient bookstores and alchemy emporiums to purchase obscure spell tomes and expand his magical knowledge. However, beneath the opulent, sunlit surface of high society, Satou's heightened sensory network uncovers a dark, insidious conspiracy operating within the city's underbelly. A faction of corrupt local aristocrats, secretly aligned with an illegal demon-worshipping cult, have been orchestrating the systematic kidnapping of foreign travelers and